Hi, I've got a few nice dishes that I'm going to create today. But first of all, I'm going to fillet this round fish, this sea bass, real quick and sharp, yeah? So, I'm going to just take it out of the cling film. And then, I'm going to cut it here, along here, like that. Cut down. And then just stroke the knife. Along the flesh. Till I get the fillet off. Like that. Lovely. Then I can decide what I'm going to do with that later. If I'm going to pan fry it. So I can just stick that there. Now I'm going to turn it over. And you decide. Rub it against the bone. Like that. And then I'm going to take the bone and I'm going to make a fish prawn bisque. So let's stick that here. We can pan fry that later. And I can do that. Be very careful with fish bones. And I'm going to stick that straight in the pan. Give it a rinse. And then I'm going to do a mirepoix, which is rough cooked vegetables, carrots, celery. The reason I'm using carrots is because it is a bisque and it's red. If it was something like a white fish stock, it would be carrots, leeks. No, it will be leeks, celery, and onion. Yeah. So you only use the carrot if it's a dark stock you're making. If you're going to make a white stock, it's leeks, celery, and onion. All right. Right. The actual fillet, I've decided I'm going to pan fry it, so I'll just stuck it in some seasoned flour, and then I'm going to put it in the fryer, in the frying pan, and take it around here so you can have a look. Stick it in the frying pan, and fry it off. Whilst that's thrown away, I can get on with my mirepoix. Yeah. Right, over here, so we can see what I'm doing. So I've got some garlic, celery, carrot, onion. Got some nice big chunky garlic, got it from the market, lovely. And we'll quickly roughly chop that. And I'm going to add some tomato, just tin tomatoes. I'm going to make a lovely bisque. Right. Right. So, got my garlic, roughly chopped. It's called a mirepoix. When you do roughly cut vegetables, it's called a mirepoix. It just means roughly chopped. Yeah. You don't need to dance it up. You just need to rough chop the vegetables like that. Don't even need to peel the carrots or anything. If I was making a soup or a stock, I wouldn't even peel the onions. I'll just wash it and chuck it in, chop it up and chuck it in. So in goes the mirepoix into the pan. You can hear the sizzling. Just cut down this carrot. And you don't need to peel it. This is going to add flavour to the fish stock. The bisque. Smell the aroma? Excellent. So you just peel it. I said to you before, if this was a stock or a soup, and this was just the base vegetables, I wouldn't even peel the onions. I would just wash it and chop it up and put it in, because when you're finished with this, all the flavour comes out of the vegetables. You're only going to chuck it away anyway. So might as well use the whole vegetables and get all the flavour. Here we go. So chuck it all in. You can see it's just chopped in, chopped anyhow. No finesse. And then here we have shells and the heads of prawns. That goes in. Right. So that's happening. Yeah. So here we go. Turn it over here. My stock pot there. Turn it around. When making a bisque, I normally add a little bit of white fish to it, white fish bones. Any fish bones you've got, just chuck it in there to just give it that fishy flavour alongside with the shellfish, and just leave that there to slowly cook. Yeah? Right, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn the fish over, or try to at least. Should be easy. Okay. Yeah, it turns over nicely. That turns over. Lovely and crispy. Lovely. It's lovely and crispy. I'll just try and turn it over. So that part of it is frying. And what you can do now that the bones and everything is all sweated off, I can start adding water, not too much. I can start adding water to that. then I'll finish it off with tomato, tin tomato. And then I'll put some stock cubes in there for flavour. Yep, I sure will. Yeah, here we go. So I've got stock cubes going in there. Then the next thing I'm going to do, well, I'm going to let that come to the boil. Let that sizzle. Open my tin of tomatoes. Don't look at me. There you go. Here I am. Open my tin of tomatoes. Put the lid on that. So I've got some fried sea bass going. I've got fish bisque going. Can open this. Right, tin tomatoes. Right, Jamie Oliver said must put it in your hand and squeeze it. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Watch and see what I'm going to do. Right, I'm going to empty that into my hand like that and squash it like that. Squash it into my hand. And let that boil. When it comes to the boil, let it simmer. Right, so it's got mirepoix in there, it's got tomatoes in there, it's got prawn shells and head in there, it's got sea bass bones in there, but any fish bones will do. I've got some nice sea bass here, shallow frying, it's called manure. When you shallow fry fish, it's called manure. When you shallow fry vegetables, it's called saute. Yeah. Right. My sea bass should almost be ready now. Let's go quick look at it. It's brown on that side. Yep. It's done. Have a look. Yep. That's done. Lovely. Originally, I schooled it, and I decided that I'm going to fillet it, and that is why it is the way it is. Let's have a look at it. So, what I might do, I might just have a mixture of sea bass and prawn spaghetti. That is the next stage. Right. So, I'm just going to let that cook a little bit longer. And then, I might just add some of the sea bass to my wonderful spaghetti. It should be good. Right, so what I'm going to do now is get to pour some more. I'm going to use some of the fish stock. Yeah. Right, now bear in mind I cooked some spaghetti and I cooked it with carrots and parsnips. So it was a tomato and root vegetable sauce with spaghetti. Now I've added a little bit of prawns to it. I'm just going to finish it off now. Yeah. Right, now I've got my prawn garnish, sea bass, and I've got my prawn spaghetti. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this down and I'm going to add my spaghetti to the, yeah, look there, that's better. I'm going to add my spaghetti. Got prawns in there, king prawns in there. to the frying pan. Fantastic. Got prawns in there and root vegetables. And I want to take some of this fish stock from here. And that's just going to enhance the flavour. Yeah. Right, now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put a lid on that so that it steams through. So I'm going to put a lid on there, and I'm going to put a lid on here. It will steam it through. Should be fantastic. Right, so the spaghetti is steaming down. Cool. So what I'm going to do now, right, I've just tasted the stock and it is amazing. All it needs now is somebody. So how long does it take to cook a bisque? Well, this bisque, 20 minutes. Right, one thing about fish, you don't want to boil it and keep it boiling for too long. Otherwise it starts to go bitter. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to transfer some of the stock to what is called a roux. A roux is flour and fat. It can be oil, it can be butter, it can be some sort of fat. Right, and you add the flour to the fat, and then you add a liquid, and this will thicken the soup. I don't want it too thick. Yeah, I don't want it too thick. Just want it thick enough so it's got a little bit of body, because it is ready. Right, it just needs a little bit of body to it now. So I add my roux. So I get my stock, and really what I should do, I should have a strainer so the bits don't get in, so like the bits of fish and stuff don't get into the soup. So let me do it properly. Yeah, so more quicker. Strain the stock into the small pot, and what I'm looking for is a nice smooth body. So just give it a little like that. And then my glasses are steaming. I'll just take them off for a second. I wasn't prepared for that. Right, now chuck that back in there. And then I want to stir this. Right. If there's any lumps in there, the best thing to do is to whisk it. And that'll whisk out the lumps. It starts to thicken and come together like that. And once I get that togetherness, you know, I'm going to add that back to the pot, and then the whole thing will be ooh la la. Yeah. So a bit more of the stock. In here. And then I'm going to add all of that back into the big pot. And I said before, it should be ooh la la. Stir that around so it becomes smooth. And just pull that smooth liquid, pour it straight into the lard pot, and that will give you the correct consistency for the bisque. Nice and smooth and silky, and full, and I mean full of flavour. You wouldn't believe it. On this little short time that I spent here, it didn't take long. All the flavour, oh my gosh, I tell you. Wish you were here. Right, I've got my lobster, my prawn bisque. Here we go. Have a little look. And I am going to do up my spaghetti. Right, so I'm not going to put too much on here. And I'm going to garnish it with the sea bass. Alright, stay where you are. So, I'm going to garnish the spaghetti with the sea bass. So it's got prawns in here. Just thinking the best way now to scoop out some of this wonderful stuff and stick it on the plate without making too much mess. That's lovely. Full of prawns, king prawns, and lovely sauce. That's fantastic. And then I'm just going to garnish it with a bit of sea bass, a bit of fried sea bass. And voila! Now, I was going to taste this so you can see this wonderful prawn bisque. There you go. A little taste. Wish you were here.